Ukraine's president is set to speak with his U.S. counterpart later today, following Donald Trump's call with Russia's Vladimir Putin. While speaking at a press conference with Finnish President Alexander Stubb, Volodymyr Zelenskyy accused Russia of not demonstrating commitment to ending the war, while Mr. Putin agreed to temporarily stop attacking Ukrainian energy facilities in his call with Mr. Trump. Mr. Putin stopped short of endorsing a full 30-day ceasefire. The Ukrainian leader also warned against making further concessions in aid, one criterion that Mr. Putin mentioned for a peace deal.
Для нас червоною лінією є визнання українських тимчасово окупованих територій російськими. Ми на це не підемо.
Mr. Zelenskyy also confirmed that Russia had launched overnight strikes, signaling Moscow's rejection of the US-backed ceasefire. The barrage took place hours after the call between Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump and reportedly damaged Ukraine's civilian and energy facilities. Similarly, Moscow accusing Kyiv of attacking an oil depot in southern Russia in attempts to derail agreements reached between Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump. The Kremlin adding that Russia stopped a drone attack on Ukrainian energy facilities after the call and shot down several of its own drones. As for the next round of US-Russia contacts, Moscow says the exact dates and format will be agreed today and tomorrow. And for more, we're joined by Kate Fisher from Washington, D.C. Kate, Russia saying it will determine date and format of its next contacts with Washington. Meanwhile, Ukraine's leader saying he's set to speak to Mr. Trump later today. What details have we on this conversation?
We have absolutely none, except for the fact that Zelenskyy says it is happening. The White House has not acknowledged that. We have nothing on the official guidance from the White House to suggest that there is a phone call planned. And Donald Trump himself hasn't mentioned anything on his Truth Social platform, which is often the way he communicates his plans. So we know that Zelenskyy is expecting that to happen. And indeed, in the usual norms of international diplomacy, you would expect that after two leaders had held a phone call about a prospective ceasefire with a third country, that country would be informed of what had been discussed on that phone call. But Donald Trump doesn't conduct diplomacy in the way that has been done in the past. So we don't yet know when and how he will be speaking to Volodymyr Zelenskyy about what he discussed with Vladimir Putin. Clearly, Volodymyr Zelenskyy wants to know what was discussed and has made it clear that he is concerned about the fact that Ukraine so far has been left out of any talks with Russia and has said that any negotiated peace has to include the Ukrainians at the table.
Kate, what we do know, this is from America's Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, saying talks on Ukraine will continue Sunday in Jeddah, but with this latest round of disagreement between Moscow and Kyiv, each accusing the other of failing to maintain even a limited ceasefire on energy facilities. Can anything come out of these talks?
Yeah, it feels as though, from the high, perhaps, of the Ukrainians signing on to the US deal in the last round of talks in Saudi Arabia, it feels as though, and the Americans coming out of those very bullish, almost, Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that this was a good deal and that if Moscow didn't sign on to it, then the world would know who the impediment to peace was. Well, clearly that phone call between Trump and Putin didn't do enough to persuade Vladimir Putin to sign on to that Trump administration deal, which is something of a blow to Donald Trump and his international negotiating tactics, his deal making that he is so proud of. And clearly the Trump administration want to get straight back to the negotiating table to try to get to move forward on this plan. The White House statement on the call between Trump and Putin suggested that this energy infrastructure ceasefire, which doesn't appear to have begun yet, would be the first stage and the longest stage of a peace process, which would include a maritime ceasefire and then a full ceasefire and then a permanent peace. And it said it would be starting those negotiations straight away. Clearly, they will be starting, but at the moment, it doesn't appear that the Russians are showing much willing, given that 2.5-hour conversation with Trump, where the Russians said they would not bomb energy infrastructure, and then overnight, the opposite happened.
Well, thanks, Kate Fisher there, reporting live to us there from Washington, D.C.